Hi guys, today's video is going to be secrets of a positive person. I get a lot of questions about this. I get a lot of people asking me how I stay positive, how I seem to be so happy all of the time, how I maintain kind of productivity and motivation. And it's really difficult to answer that question because it's not something that is just automatic. And I think that people assume that you're either a positive person or you're a negative person or somewhere in between. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think over time, especially over this past year, when everything has really come to a head mental health wise, I am actually realizing that positive people and general positive outlooks, positive thinking is actually a coping mechanism. I wanted to make this video specifically because I know people who are not like me, who think that the way that I am is actually preferable, think that I have it all figured out and I'm doing things better than they are. And I mostly wanted to talk about this because I'm not. And I don't think that watching someone like me or having someone like me in your life and making you feel like you're doing something wrong is a good thing. So I just want to throw it out there that we do not have it all figured out, and this is not the right way to be. This is actually probably the worst way to be. Every day you wake up and you have choices. Now, I'm not talking about people who are suffering with like crippling anxiety and depression. I'm talking about people who generally are mentally healthy, but tend to focus on the negative. I do like to quote the Stevie Wonder song, Positivity, where he says, you can always look at the negative, but you should always live in the positive. I love that song. I challenge you to listen to that song and not feel more upbeat. And that is true. There are choices that you can make. I don't believe that everyone can choose happy, but I think that a lot of us can choose to be happier. And I think that for some people, being anxious and worrying all of the time is like second nature, and it almost feels like a comfort. Like if you worry about everything, then nothing can be unexpected and nothing can come out of the blue and destroy you because you've already expected this to happen. You've already lived in that kind of pessimistic zone. And so, oh, well, of course this would happen. It's not a big deal because I was already worried about this. I can't do that. That actually might be the healthiest mindset for you to be in. And so you might be thinking, well, Kyla seems to be positive all the time, but I can't live in the negative. That would destroy me. I do not do well with stress. And so my coping mechanism is to just push it down, head in the sand, nothing terrible is happening on the outside, totally insular bubble. Everything's going to be fine, because if it's not fine, what the fuck am I going to do? It's not that I can truly deal with everything that is going on that's wrong. It's not that I can say, oh, okay, so you've told me all of these things are terrible, and I can deal with that. That's fine. I can deal with these terrible things. I can't deal with those terrible things. And so I pretend that they're not happening. And that is not a preferable state. That's not me having it figured out. That's not better than someone who actually sits down and absorbs that information and figures out a plan. Now, I am someone who can deal with a crisis. If something I feel is fixable, if you say this terrible thing has happened and I think I can see a solution, I'm like, okay, all hands on deck, we can get this sorted out. But if I can't see a solution, I don't want to know. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to give you an example that's very relevant to me right now, of the living with my parents situation of the last 4 years. We committed to a certain amount of time, and once it became clear that it was going to be more difficult than we anticipated, I couldn't let that in because I couldn't be stressed out about it for 4 years. Well, it was going to be 5 and we ended up bailing slightly earlier. But I couldn't every day wake up and think, wow, this is hard. And so I had to find good in it, and I had to find positive in it. And that did have a positive result because I did find the good. And I didn't wake up every day thinking, wow, this is really difficult to share a house with other people, because I actually had looked for the good. So there is good to be found in the way that I deal with things, the way that positive people deal with things. We do look less for the bad and we look less for the good, look more for the good. If you've watched The Secret, which I know is very controversial, not everyone's into like law of attraction and all of that stuff. But just to put it into kind of a practical mind, this is kind of how this works. If you believe that something good is going to happen to you, then you are looking for signs of good. If you believe that something bad is going to happen to you, you're looking for confirmation that, well, I knew that was going to happen. And so that's just another reason to assume the worst. There is a benefit to looking on the bright side and to being positive all of the time. I'm not saying that I don't like the way that I am. I'm more saying it's not as simple as it seems. I also think that the choose happy thing is kind of an element of control. And if you're a bit of a control freak, which I've realized over the years that I am, I didn't think I was. I really thought I'm quite laid back, I'm quite easygoing. I'm not easygoing at all. I'm sure my friends probably always knew this about me. I really did think I was pretty chill. And in certain situations I am, but for the most part, I like to do things my way. I like to have some control over the situation. And I think what actually it is if I can't control the situation, then I'm out. If I can't be the person leading this thing, then I'm going along with it, but I'm not participating. It's not a good trait, but it's something I'm aware of now. If, like, I can't be part of a bad plan, this is something I hear a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I can be there, but I can't contribute if I can see that you're doing it, in my mind, the wrong way. It's not good. So now that I know that about myself, I do see things in me elsewhere where I'm like, okay, that's a control thing. So I'm saying, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm going to feel this way. That isn't, again, necessarily mentally healthy, because I'm actually just looking for control. The whole thing of lockdown threw me for a loop, because that's like ultimate loss of control. A lot of it I was fine with, working from home. Okay, we're homeschooling now. Okay, it's difficult, but okay. I can take control by creating a workspace, by trying to create a schedule. I try to take control in my working life by changing my hours and saying, right, well, I can't do both at the same time, so I'm going to be flexible with this, and I'm going to work in the evenings, and that is my control. Everything eventually catches up with you when you realize you still can't control this situation. And when you are someone like me, when you are a positive person who's very like, never look at the negative, never look at the negative, it's going to come out eventually. I had some pretty serious meltdowns over very minor things in the first lockdown. If you watched my vlogs, you may remember Milo hadn't been at school in months and months. They'd sorted out this Teams call. I couldn't get him on this Teams call. He missed it. He looked devastated. I was a mess. He looked devastated. He went upstairs. I loudly cried and cried and cried in the middle of a work day. Couldn't stop crying. This has happened to me very few times in my life. I was just like, I had a full breakdown over this Teams call because I'd put so much on this. Everything I'd been worried about the kids missing school and their friends, everything I'd been worried about work, about just everything about lockdown had all been pushed. Or I've explained it this way as well before, and this is a great analogy for this. It's like blowing up a balloon. So like every time I don't deal with something, it's like inflating that balloon slightly more, slightly more, slightly more, and eventually something pops the balloon. And that Teams call was the very last little bit of air, and then it popped and everything came out. All of the emotion, all of the cannot deal with this, all came out in that one thing. I cried a lot in the bath last year. I like to cry in the bath because I don't like to cry in front of people. You're already wet and you're in a locked room. And if you cry with the tap running. People can't hear you necessarily. Cried in the bath a lot. I drank in the bath a lot. I did not deal with my emotions and with what was happening well at all. But on the surface, I probably seemed very happy and everything's going to be okay. Right, we're going to fix this. This is going to be fine. It's just not. It's not what it appears to be. I know different people who deal with stress in different ways. I'm going to give you the example of Lee. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I've spoken about him enough in the past. He just likes to complain. And at first I was like, I can't deal with this because I'm so sensitive and because I bottle things up, I kind of absorb other people's problems. I absorb them, but again, I still don't deal with them because if I can't fix them, they go in the balloon. And I absorb other people's stuff, but they don't necessarily need me to absorb that stuff. And that's something that I'm also learning about myself and the way I deal with things versus the way other people deal with things. If Lee has had a bad day, let's say, he will come home and like just all of these problems. And I feel like he's giving me them to fix. And so I put them in the balloon until such a time as I can find a solution. That's not what he's doing, but he like unburdens himself. And then his balloon shrinks and my balloon gets bigger. And he goes away feeling great and leaves me feeling terrible. That's difficult to deal with when you don't have another coping mechanism apart from inflating the balloon. Talking about my problems doesn't help me. Talking about my problems doesn't shrink my balloon. I have another friend who likes to tell me all of the, like if she's got a problem, she's like, okay, this is happening and this is happening. And it just helps to like rant and rave or like vent. I don't feel that way. I don't like to rehash things as I'm going through them. If I'm having a really hard time with something, I don't like to talk about it as I'm going through it. I will like to talk about it afterwards. So let's say I was having a real blue moment right now. In the next couple of weeks, I might say in a vlog, man, that was really hard for these reasons. I can't talk about it while I'm in it. If ever I'm talking about having a hard time, it can't be that hard a time because I just can't. I don't want anyone's opinions. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do or try and fix it until I'm in a place where I feel like I know the solution or it's already fixed and it's gone. After that point, you can tell me whatever you want. But while I'm in it, it's not welcome and I don't want to talk about it. I like to lament in private. I like to cry in the bath. And that is how I deal with things. But truly, it's not dealing with things. And I think that more positive people are like that than you would imagine. It definitely from the outside, there are certain people, there are those people who get up at 5 a.m. and they're like, smashing life, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I see through that. I know that that's not all legit. I know that they are doing that because they have no control over something and they are trying to make themselves happy. They are trying to fix something in doing that. I know that because during lockdown, I actually started getting up early for me. I am someone who will roll out of bed 5 minutes before I've got to leave somewhere. I can be ready quick, so fast. I want as much sleep as possible. In lockdown, I realized I was getting more and more sleep, more and more lie-ins, and I wasn't feeling great. Eventually, when I think it was when I was furloughed for 3 weeks and I had a full-blown meltdown about that because I was like, I'm not needed, what's the point in me? Just another example of like losing my mind because I would love to be furloughed right now, currently. I wouldn't really, but you know what I'm saying. It's tough to do all of this at home and knowing that my job was safe, but I was still furloughed and to have a meltdown over it was insane when other people were in much worse situations than I was. But at that point I thought, right, I'm going to have to do something to give myself some kind of schedule because otherwise the kids weren't really properly homeschooling at that point. They weren't being sent homework. I could have just slept and got up at any time. It could have gone a really bad route for me because I have two modes. I'm either sloth-like or I'm mega productive. And one of those two modes is much better for my mental health than others. A mix of the two is the best thing for me, because either of them, I can go a little bit crazy, but definitely not doing things and being like sleeping in and just sitting around doesn't make me feel great. So I decided to get up at 7 every day regardless. I know that's not early for everyone, but it's early for me. And I stuck with it, and I can't tell you, at the weekend I allow myself to sleep in, and I can thankfully still sleep in. But 7 o'clock, Monday to Friday, regardless, whether I'm off, whether the kids are off, no matter what, and I feel great for it. And again, I know that's an element of control. I've gained some time in my day when I feel like I can't do things, I've got not enough time to do the work that I need to do, or I've got not enough time to film videos and do the work and my homeschooling. I've given myself time. That time is there if I want it. It's also there to have a little bit of a chill time. I can vlog a little bit. I can drink my coffee before everyone else is up. And especially now the house is just ours, I can sit in the dining room. It's the gratitude I feel for that little bit of time and now the space is incredible. The overall point is you may see people in your life or people online, especially people on social media, because it's all very happy, shiny, sparkly all the time. It's all the highlight reel, as we've talked about a bunch. But especially right now, if you feel like you're watching other people thinking they've got it sussed, they haven't. Living life in this kind of like ignorance is bliss, rose-tinted glasses type of way is not the best way. It's just the only way those people, i.e. me, can deal with things. If you actually are dealing with things in a completely different way, whatever is your comfort, whatever is your coping mechanism, if that's complaining, if that's worrying about things all the time so that you feel like you've always got a game plan if something terrible happens, if you need someone to vent to, I would recommend that if you are that person and you need to vent to someone, that you have quite a candid conversation with them and say, look, I need for you to be the person who listens to these problems. I don't need you to fix them. I'm not telling you for any reason other than when I've spoken to you, I feel better. Make sure it's the right person to do that with, because if you can be candid, communication is key in all relationships, but especially in this kind of thing. If you can find a person who can listen and not take that on, all the better. But I do think that, especially right now, when everyone's struggling anyway, it's great to communicate with the people that you are using in that way and explain how useful that is. Because also it gives us a purpose. It makes people feel valued and needed. If you're using them that way, and maybe they were thinking, well, this person only ever comes to me to complain, they don't realize how valuable that is to you. But yeah, random video, I realized, but I was just kind of sitting down before Christmas and thinking about videos that I wanted to make, and it comes up so often. I'm asked every single week, several times a week, how do you stay so positive? How do you this? I'm like, it's a lie. It is a lie. It's very rare that I am in such a funk or something so terrible's happened to me that I can't switch it on to make a video. I think on my darkest day, I might be dead behind the eyes, but I could sit in front of a camera and turn it on and you would not know anything was going on. It's complete denial and, like I said before, living in that kind of insular bubble of this is all fine, smiley, 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 but it's not always the case. Maybe those people that are super happy in your life crying in the bath too. And regardless, however you're coping right now, you're coping. You're getting through it somehow. So don't give yourself a hard time for not coping correctly, is all I wanted to say. I hope that you guys are feeling okay today. I know that we, as I film this, are on the cusp of some extra lockdown news, which is going to be taken differently for different people. I am at the point now where I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. Let's just get on with it. But I know it's not that simple for everyone. Yeah, I hope you're doing okay. And thank you for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. I do also vlog every day of lockdown, which is mostly me talking about feelings and how are we doing and, some crying in the bath. So I will see you guys in my next one on whichever channel that might be.